The battle for parental rights isn't just a conversation, it's a revolution. We're bringing on Emily Jones, president of Moms for Liberty Alabama, to talk about her work in the realm of parental rights as well as some legislation that affects those rights coming up on 1819 News, the podcast. We have an incredible culture here in the state of Alabama, but our politics and public policy don't reflect the people of Alabama. Media drives culture. Culture is what drives politics and public policy. Welcome, everyone, to 1819 News, the podcast. Bryan Dawson, CEO of 1819 News and host of this here podcast, where we are in pursuit of a free and flourishing Alabama every single week. Bringing on someone this week who is in that same pursuit, shares a very similar mission to bring about a better Alabama for our children and grandchildren. Bringing on Emily Jones, the president of Moms for Liberty. Is it Huntsville, North Alabama? What's the chapter
Alabama
name?
now.
It's Alabama.
Yeah.
She's the president of Alabama. I have the president of Alabama here. Moms for Liberty of Alabama. And we're going to be talking about a couple different things. One that is one of the most infuriating things on the planet, and that is the medical age of consent or age of medical consent. If you guys remember, we talked to Susan DuBose about that. And then we're also going to talk about the Focus Act, which was a good bill that got through that is basically pulling cell phones out of the classroom to allow children to, as the bill says, focus. So we'll be talking about that. Before we do, want to tell you guys, if you're not getting the newsletter every morning between 5:45 and 6 a.m., you're missing out, and you don't want to miss out. Nobody wants to miss out. The newsletter, we drive the news cycle in the state, whether it's the radio show hosts in the state reading our newsletter and talking about what's going on, or it's just everyday average Alabamians getting the news, learning about what's going on so that they can participate in their civic duties in a responsible way. We're here to drive that news cycle, and we do that with the newsletter. So go to 1819news.com, click the subscribe button at the top of the page, put in your email address. As I always say, we won't sell it to China. Maybe Russia. You know, we're Tucker Carlson people, so we're in bed with Russia, right? Anyway, we won't sell your information. Put it in there, and you'll start receiving the newsletter every morning. Do that, and now for the promised content. Emily, thank you so much for making the drive from Huntsville.
Yes, thank you for having me. And yes. I get the newsletters, and I assure you, I start my day every day checking out headlines from 1819.
It's my favorite thing to hear. Yes.
You've achieved your goal.
Yes, indeed. And it's funny, whether the person hates me and wants to kill me or they're friendly, such as yourself, they say the same thing. And it's funny to watch the ones that hate me and want to kill me. And they're like, I read it every morning. I'm like, I know you do.
It's got impact. That's good.
Yes, that's good. So before we dive into everything that we want to talk about, also worth noting, you are running for state school board.
Yes, District 8.
Yes, against the infamous Wayne Reynolds.
Yes.
That should be interesting.
Fun times ahead.
Yes, and that'll be good. I love that the Alabama Education Association can no longer participate financially in those races, and that actually gives good people a chance to win. We saw that with Kelly Mooney. We saw that with Alan Long. So it's very interesting to see. And my favorite thing, you go into like the library situation that happened in Prattville, but it happened all over the place. But specifically Prattville, I call it the Prattville strategy. You had all the stuff that was going on with the books. We're all very intimately familiar with that. But what ended up happening is that they went to the library board, and the library board said it was the city council's fault. And so they went to the city council, and the city council said, no, it's the library's fault. Yep. It was this back and forth. And I said, you watch. These conservatives are going to take over the library board, and they're going to take over the city council. And they've now got every single seat on the library board in Prattville. Yep. And they're now going after city council. And you're seeing that in Fairhope. Like, yep. You're seeing it in kind of all over. Yep. And now you're jumping into the fray in the state school board race. Yeah, it should be fun. Yeah.
It's amazing what happens when conservatives that want to work take over boards. Things get done without going to the legislature. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. So tell me, why on earth did you think, I know why, but I have to frame it up in this, this media way. What on earth was Emily Jones thinking when she said, you know what, I'm going to run for state school board?
Well, there's lots of things that went through my mind. But I mean, it's really a lot of what we've talked about. Like, I'm just tired of constantly having to battle every single person, every single time we turn around. Yeah. I mean, Madison's interesting because Madison City specifically, we don't vote for our school board members. They're appointed by city council. So to your point, when we were having issues with our library board and we went to city council and they said, oh, well, we can't do anything about that. They're appointed. We can't touch them. Well, if you're not willing to touch the library board, you're never going to touch the school board.
Yeah.
So what's a parent to do?
Yeah.
So when you really take a step back and look at it, most of my issues are not local school board issues. They're things that are not happening at the state. So what better way to fix it than get involved?
I love it. I love it. And that's the spirit of the whole thing. Spirit of how you came on and told the story of how you started Moms for Liberty. Love that. You guys have made some headlines recently with Moms for Liberty. Had a great gal, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was coming to town. There was some graffiti basically talking about killing you guys.
Yeah.
To which I always say, if you're not getting death threats in this business that we're in, are you even doing anything?
Right, exactly. Yes.
Talk about that event. How did it go?
Yeah, event was amazing. It was bloody hot. Like, it was absolutely horrible. We had an AC unit go out. So, Alabama, South, June. I mean, it was awful.
I blame Antifa.
Yeah, always. Yes. It's always their fault. But no, the event was amazing. We had over 200 people showing up. Literally, we're out of seats.
Yeah.
MTG, she brings it as always. So she got up there and, it was a restaurant, so lots of windows. And because we had protesters and all that, we ended up just papering over. So basically, they just didn't have an audience. It wasn't a security thing. It was just, if we can't see them, then what's the point in protesting kind of thing. But she was funny. She came out and she's like, we're called the fascists, yet we're the ones having to paper over windows because they're crazy outside.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So and everybody loved hearing that. So she did great as always. And everybody had a good time and had great turnout. So
what was the date on that? Because I remember there was a reason I couldn't be there. I forget what it was.
June 28th.
June 28th. I think I was on vacation.
Okay.
And
most people were. There were a lot.
It's hard to do stuff in the summer, but you still got to do it. So, well, that's awesome. Everybody, all the cool people were there. I saw on Facebook, and I was talking about fear of missing out, guys. I'm sitting on Facebook like, oh man.
It was good.
Yeah, that's really cool. Awesome.
We're working some other ones. We've got Nancy Mason in the works. So
awesome.
Yeah,
that'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the work you guys do. You fight and you get results, and that to me is what it's about. You and I were talking, before recording, about the importance of if we're going to win, we have to develop some type of a coalition that can actually work together without we start getting friendly fire. Conservatives are known for that, but I think we're starting to see a bit of coalescing, coalition building. I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are, and don't want to put you on blast if they aren't good thoughts, but I imagine that they probably are. One of the reasons I think that we in Republican supermajority states, and what that means in a Republican supermajority states is that all the Democrats turned Republican, and so when all the Democrats turn Republican, you end up getting very squishy Republican supermajorities. You don't get actual, real bold, conservative leadership, real bold conservative policy. And the policy we do get is because groups like yours, groups like mine, groups like API, groups like Eagle Forum, bring the heat, and you get school choice from Kay Ivey, who didn't want school choice. You get some of these library things. You get some of these other acts. And that's not to say, there's some great people in the legislature that are pushing those things and fighting and want the same things. But we've lacked, I call it hierarchy. And what I mean by that is leadership. Like there's no one that everyone's looking to say, like, left or right. And then, when you disagree, you fight. I think Tuberville could potentially end up kind of bringing a bunch of people together and really start like moving things in a very Ron DeSantis-esque way. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I hope so. I have some reservations about his team as a whole, not him individually. Yeah. I have growing concerns there, but I still think at the end of the day, Tuberville's the person. I will still vote for him. I think he does amazing things, and I'm with you. Like, he brings that Trump-esque to Alabama of, we're done playing games, we're fixing it, get your butt in gear or get out of the way.
Yep.
And that's what we do.
Amen. Awesome. So you called me. You're one of the few people that I let do this. You call me and say, hey, I really want to talk about this. Can I come on your podcast?
Yes.
Right. And so I said, of course. Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of things you wanted to talk about. I just recently, right near the same time that you called me to ask about your op-ed that you wrote on the Focus Act, but you also said you wanted to talk about medical age of consent.
Yep.
And to me, that has been one of the... I cling on to things and get really worked up. There's so much news. We're putting out like 16 pieces of content a day. It's all, it matters. But I read, and then sometimes there's something that just like sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things most recently that has really just stuck under my craw. Susan DuBose was sitting in the same seat that you're sitting in, and she talked about that medical age of consent bill. And as much as I hammer people in the state legislature and things not getting done, and a lot of it is because of a lack of leadership, a lot of it is because our Republican supermajority isn't as conservative as we would like. But the thing that I have learned, and Jeff Poore told me to do this, he said, you really need to get these guys, the good ones, to come on your podcast and hear from them, and let my audience that I've built up, let them hear from these guys, because we think it's one way down there, and then they're down there, and the good ones that we can trust can tell us what's actually happening. And this is the one thing that I learned in the last 3 or 4 months of having these guys come on a couple times a month, is that not only is our Republican supermajority maybe not as radically right wing as I would like, I lean into the right wing label.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Our state bureaucracies are extremely left leaning, like full blown, and there's something about the personality, the makeup of people who can work dead end state jobs and get themselves built into the bureaucracy. So they're just infesting in this thing. You've got the Medical Association of the state of Alabama. You've got the Alabama Department of Public Health, the Hospital Association, just on. And, the bill was trying to move the medical age of consent that is at 14, moving it to 18 or 19. Everything else, you can't do anything in Alabama until you're 19. But, if you want to get your penis cut off, I guess you can't do that because of the BCAP legislation. Great job, Eagle Forum, on that.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, thank God for that. But, they would, this bill, had we not had the VCAP legislation, would allow kids to make these very, long-term decisions about treatment and all kinds of other stuff. We're letting them do that at 14, but all these other things they can't do here till they're 19.
Right, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So when Susan talked about that legislation, she said it seemed so common sense that it was going to be very easy. And then she was blown away by the amount of resistance that she experienced. And it was all coming from these doctors associations and these medical associations and these hospital associations and the Alabama Department of Public Health. And it was these doctors who were basically sitting the legislators down saying, we have to get the parents out of the way.
Because we have bad parents. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We have bad parents. Yeah. So that I remember Susan telling me that. I remember the very beginning of her journey with that. And she was so optimistic, this is common sense. Who's going to object to this? Yeah. And I remember sitting down with my vice chair, Elizabeth, and saying, she has no idea what's coming because she's not the first one to file this. Multiple people tried. Ben Harrison tried. Yeah. And it got nowhere. So I just remember that moment of she doesn't realize what she's up against. Yeah. And then fast forward to the point where she's battling these people. She was just beyond frustrated dealing with all of that. So it should be easy. But you've got all these obstacles in the way that for some reason they don't care about protecting parental rights. They don't care about kids. They don't care about any of that. They'll do whatever they can to just keep things status quo because it's easy. We know how to do that. Yeah.
What I would at some point, I've got my theories, maybe even conspiracy theories, conspiratorial theories, where the motivation to destroy parental rights comes from. So I think on a pragmatic standpoint, a practicality standpoint of where it comes from, is the managerial elite, if you will. These are these people who are entrenched in our bureaucracies that are, you have a state like Alabama. We have our inner city population. There are a lot of bad parents in that situation, even out in the country, sure too. But there's when they say we can't trust parents, they have a group of parents in their mind that they're talking about, and I would say that's maybe at most 30% of the parents. Yeah, at most, it's probably not even that. We'll just call it 25%. 25% of the parents are maybe what you would call a derelict parent who are not doing what they need to do, and so these managerial elite bureaucrats, assuming their intentions are pure, which I have a hard time assuming.
Agreed.
That their intentions are to help these children, these 25% of the children who have these derelict parents, and so they want to change all the laws so that the law forces, basically puts the managerial elite over not only just these 25% of children, but all of the children.
Yeah.
And so you have this small group of people who really do have bad parents. So what are we going to do? We're going to create a law that affects all these good parents and removes their rights.
Yeah, and the good parents sit quietly by and allow it to happen.
Yeah.
So have we ever talked about the story of Sonny Hereford?
Hit me.
All right, amazing story. You need to go get the full details on it because
Okay.
I'll give you the abbreviated version.
All right.
Sonny Hereford was the first, I think, black surgeon in Huntsville. First black doctor for sure, I think surgeon. And he had a son, Sonny Jr., that was growing up in the middle of the civil rights movement. Sonny, the dad, obviously was like, nope, this is not right. Don't agree with this. My son deserves to be in public schools, integrated schools.
Yeah.
So he fought for his son to be integrated into Alabama public schools. He was the first black child to ever attend integrated public schools in Alabama, in Huntsville. Amazing story. I've heard the dad's passed away now, but I've heard the son tell the story multiple times. I get chills every time. It's an amazing story. But they eventually tear down the school, rebuild it, and the new school is built, and it's named after Sonny Hereford.
Oh, wow.
So I toured the school. Amazing school, super, modern, high tech, all that. But in the school, it's in a low income area. They have a barbershop. They have food pantry. They have clothes. They have all the things. And when I first toured it, this was years ago before I had my great awakening and became a true hardcore conservative. I remember touring this.
Right-winger.
Yes, right-winger, yes. I remember walking through the school and I was like, this is amazing. Look at all the stuff that this school is doing for these kids. This is great. We need more of this. And then fast forward to now, I'm like, holy crap, why are we letting the government schools provide this for our families? Where's the church? Where are the families? Where is the neighbor taking care of these kids to say, no, government, you back off. I got this.
Yeah.
Parents stood quiet and let the government take over. And that's why you've got this massive situation now where medical associations get to decide, well, I'll determine what's good and bad parenting. And at 14, bad parents, I just need to be able to let the kid do this.
Yeah.
It's a failure of society.
Yeah. And there's a thing, it's just this kind of phenomenon, the way I think God's created the world, where those who take responsibility will soon have the authority.
Yeah.
Authority and responsibility are always together, and where God gives authority, he holds those in authority responsible. Mm-hmm. But also, if there's no authority necessarily given, the people who begin to take responsibility will find themselves in authority. It's just the way that it works.
It works.
And so now you have all these parents abdicating their responsibility, and then you have the government taking up all the responsibility, and now that authority has shifted from the parents to the government.
Yep. And yes, that's exactly what's happened. With authority comes responsibility, vice versa. Parents have, I'm losing my words. We fight for parental rights because the government should not take those from us.
Yeah.
But with that, parents have the responsibility to take care of their kids.
Yeah.
Because when you don't, someone else is going to step in. And that's the challenge, I think, with Moms for Liberty is we fight for parental rights. We're failing to remind parents you also have that responsibility. And I see it in the kids that run around our neighborhood. Where is your parent right now? Why is your parent not getting on to you for ding-dong ditching all over the community? They're absent, and we've got to figure out how to fix that.
And it's a mentality that is infused into conservatives and Christians, and we don't realize that we are handing over the most important thing to other people when we do it. I was at an extremely conservative conference recently. It was an amazing group, one of my favorite groups in the whole country. So you're around people like us, okay? And I'm in this a certain track that they created for people. I'm trying not to give away where I was, because I love these people. So my point in saying it is, these are the most conservative people in the country who go to this thing, and they put me in a room with other people who are like-minded, who are in similar vocation as me. And we're sitting around, there's probably 25 of us in this room, and we have those little lectern microphones like they have when you're talking to Congress or whatever. Yeah. And we're all sitting there and we're talking, and I see this on full display. And again, I'm considered a whack job even by conservatives, and that's fine, I don't care. But it's specifically as it pertains to this topic that we're talking about. they're talking about Roe versus Wade and abortion, and they're saying, if we really want to stop, chopping at leaves on this abortion, we have to get to the root of the problem, and that's, promiscuity and people, da-da-da-da-da. And he said, purity culture, it was pushed back against and da-da-da. What we need is male influencers, like TikTok influencers, to teach, young men the importance of waiting till they're married, and all this other stuff. And then they're like, yeah. And maybe if we could get teachers in schools, yeah.
Oh my.
And what if Sunday school teachers? Yeah, that's what we need. And I'm just sitting here. And again, these are amazing, wonderful people, but that's just the way we've been pre-programmed to think, is that these conversations need to be had by somebody else.
Yeah.
Someone else. And it's like those things where it say, don't try this at home, leave it to the professionals. Yeah. We've so gobbled that don't try this at home, leave it to the professionals with our kids, that we think we're going to screw our kids up if we do anything. We need to let someone else do it. Yeah. And so the entire, youth group, Sunday school model is based on this. Churches will, I'm on a tangent now, churches will spend $100 million creating a program with 15 youth pastors in skinny jeans, going to Disney World or whatever it is, rather than sitting a dad down saying, hey man, you're abdicating your authority and you're not teaching, like, you're in sin by the way you're not leading your wife and training your children. So rather, they will spend $100 million doing it for them, rather than just sitting a dad down and saying, hey man, you're actually in sin with the way that you're leading your household.
Because that may offend him.
Yeah.
And that means that the dad gets mad.
Yeah.
He leaves. He takes his tithing, and your membership drops. So they're not willing to do it. We had Jared Hudson for a town hall last night, and we had it at the church. The church hosted a political event. Yeah. And the lead pastor talked really about he had a fancy little word for it, but it all went back to tithing. Churches focus everything around tithing. And if it's going to impact that, they don't touch it.
Our whole system, man, you're going to get me on a whole philosophical thing that is not why you came here to talk.
But I will love the conversation just as much.
Yes. So this whole idea of financial incentives, we have surrendered the idea that there's a way of leading as a nation, as a church, as a society, as a community, where those who are in charge think about the good of those who are in their care, and they make decisions based off of what's good versus making decisions for what's good for the GDP and the stock market. And you see it in churches where all they're worried about is the tithe. And as long as the tithe is up, that means everything's good in the church. Yeah. Well, we have 6 pregnant girls in the youth group and 2 of the boys are gay. But did you see the tithe though?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But you flash forward and you put that on the nation, and that's exactly, I remember, and I'm going to get to interview Tucker here pretty soon, and this is what I'm going to talk to him about, is he was being interviewed by Ben Shapiro. I don't know if you saw this.
I heard about it. I didn't watch it.
So he's being interviewed by Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro's like, man, isn't it going to be great when Elon creates semi-trucks that don't need people? How great that's going to be for the GDP and the stock market, right? And Tucker said, that's a terrible idea. And Ben couldn't wrap his mind around what Tucker was saying. And he says, well, no, truck driver is the number one job for non-college educated men, for them to be able to provide for their families.
I did not know that.
And you're talking about replacing that with a computer? What are all those men going to do? And so I remember when I heard that, it was like all these light switches just went off in my brain about us taking all of our manufacturing jobs and sending them overseas so that the stock market would go up and the GDP would go up. But now you've got all these people that, they worked in a factory, maybe, but they had dignity. They went to work every day. They worked in a textile mill. They worked in whatever, but they worked and they provided for their family and they taught their children about work. And no, it wasn't the sexiest job in the world, but they did it, and it was good for society for them to have these jobs. And we said, no, we're going to get high-tech jobs. We're going to ship all these over. Well, instead of our people getting the high-tech jobs, they've now taken all these people, all the the Indians of the world and the H-1B visas, and they're bringing them from India to fill the only jobs that we have left. And so now you have all these, middle American, mostly white, kind of J.D. Vance, hillbilly elegy type people who don't have anywhere to work. And then Vivek Ramaswamy has the nerve to say that white Americans are fat and lazy, and it's, man. Anyway, I told you, it got me on a whole thing there. So, woosah. I went on a tangent. I'm sorry about that.
It's good though. It's good because on the flip side of that, you've got a husband that's not working and a wife that's losing respect for her husband.
Yeah.
So what does that do to your marriage? You've got kids that are witnessing a marriage that's deteriorating before their eyes. They don't have admiration for their dad because he just sits around and does nothing all day long. It destroys family.
Yeah.
And that's
the entire the social fabric of the country matters more than the GDP.
Yeah.
And when we make decisions and we think that there's this neutrality that exists about good and bad and social fabric, and the only thing that we make our decisions off of is a church and the tithe and a country and our GDP, we forget about what actual health exists within the nation. If you're running a ministry or you own a business, my guess is that you've been thinking about starting a podcast for a while now, but for various reasons it hasn't happened yet. Send me an email. I need to personally connect you with Yonder Child Media. They built this studio in 2 days and tackle all of the production. I just come in, start talking, and leave. It's that easy. They do everything else. Whether you want to record at your business or a home office like they just built for me, you come in, start talking, and Yonder Child will do everything else. Send me an email. That's going to be BRYAN, Bryan.Dawson, DAWSON at 1819news.com, and I'd be happy to personally connect you. On Health of the Nation, let's go back. How do you like that transition? That was good. Very good.
Smooth.
Okay. Age of medical consent. So Susan DuBose gets the bill. It does get passed, not in its original form. It faces tremendous opposition, something that should be very common sense. Of course, parents are responsible for the medical decisions of their children until they're adults. That's just a no-brainer.
Yep.
All this opposition, they had to fight tooth and nail to get it not to 18, but to 16.
Yep. So it's funny because we were very much against compromising on it. And typically I'm one of those that's like, hey, let's just move the ball down the field. It's okay if we don't have the Hail Mary pass, get a touchdown. Yeah. It's okay. This was one initially I'm just like, no, it is 18 or die. We're not doing it. And Susan was the same way. And I would text Susan and ask her, where are we with this? And she's like, they're trying to amend it. If we do it, I'm killing it. I mean, we were lockstep not doing it. And then I went and read the bill one day. I was actually sitting at my son's school waiting to go eat lunch with him and had nothing else to do. So I pull up the bill and I start reading through it. And there's these little nuggets buried deep within this bill. And I'm like, this bill is amazing. The medical piece apart is great, but then there's stuff that starts going into the school system.
Yeah.
And I'm texting Susan on the side and I was asking questions and I was like, Susan, this bill is amazing. No one realizes what this actually does for parents beyond just the doctor's room.
Yeah.
And she's just kind of nonchalant about it, was like, yeah, we got some good stuff in there. She just kind of breezes past it. So when they ended up having to amend it and getting it down to 16, and it was another one, common sense should have flown through, but here we are, 2 weeks left of session, and I think they actually had a conference over it. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I know that they were preparing for that. But it was another one, really late in session, trying to get it through there. Thankfully, they did. But when I was talking to her about it, she's like, I think we're going to have to amend it down to 16. I'm like, I don't care if you amend it down to 16. You've got this other stuff buried in here. This is a huge win. We can go back and get 18. So the things that are buried in there that very few people have tracked, literally until it was passed before some of her colleagues figured out. So it deals with things that are happening at school. So you and I have talked a lot about this mental health, school counseling crap that's going on.
Yes.
This bill, and I read it before I got here to make sure I said it right. This law, I should say, prevents schools from having kids involved in any mental health counseling, period, unless the parent consents for a 16-year-old or below. That's huge. It also has written in there anything related to suicide, which again is huge because that just, I think you've talked to Pat Ellis about this in the Eagle Forum ladies. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of kind of promoting the idea and having those conversations too young. Yeah. You're putting the idea in their brain and then they start
suicide seeds.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it prevents that and it prevents bullying, which is a huge one for me because everything's bullying when you start dealing with LGBTQ.
Yeah.
If I don't think that people can be trans, if I state that, I'm a bully.
You're a bully.
So it's the loophole where all this stuff starts seeping in is around bullying, suicide, because, if you think you're in the wrong body, then you might be suicidal. We should talk about that. And then mental health, they're just ramming everything they can through there. So this law specifically calls out all three of those and says a 16-year-old and below has to have parental consent before a school can do this. So being the investigative person that I am, I checked before I came down here, and our state standards still require all three of those. So the law goes into effect in 6 weeks, October 1st. I guess it's 8 weeks now. We've still not written standards to change that. And I don't know what happens on October 1st. School-wise, they should be fixing that, but I can tell you if my child is exposed to any of this without my consent, well, that's grounds for a lawsuit because you're violating parental rights and breaking the law. So
breaking the law.
The school board's got to get on board and fix this stuff quick.
So yeah, that's my question. Speak to me like I'm 5 in special needs, because let's be honest. Who fixes that? Who writes the standards? How does that change? What's the process?
Well, I don't know the extreme details of it, but school board's responsible for it. Okay. They write the standards, and then they have to assess curriculum to make sure that it meets the standards. So it's a state school board action. I mean, I can go complain to my local school board all day long and say, we're not doing this. And that's what I've done with the mandated counseling. Yeah. All of it's supposed to be opt-in, but the school board, the school system is telling me it's a state standard. You can't opt out, which is true. Like, I can't opt out of math. I mean, my kid's got to do it. So it all goes back to state level fixes. The state school board has to go back, look at the standards and say, is this compliant with the law or not? And where it's not, they've got to readdress it. I mean, the simple thing is they can leave all of it there. They just have to make it more or less like an elective. Yeah. So if a parent chooses to do it, they can. But when I choose not to, my child's not punished for not doing it. So we got 8 weeks.
Only 8 weeks. So I'm just kind of, my goal is that this podcast would get sent to the person who could begin this process. Is that anybody from Kelly Mooney and Alan Long, or is it only the people like, and I guess Kelly Mooney's now the president of the school board. We talked about that. I thought it was Wayne Reynolds. So interesting. Yeah. So who should someone send this podcast to get that fixed?
I plan to reach out to Kelly and Alan directly and ask them now that I've confirmed everything. Okay. I don't know. I mean, both of them are new, and I think they're fighters. They'll do what they can, but I don't think that they're going to be able to say like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I've got it. I think it's probably going to require some public pressure on multiple people, to include Eric Mackey.
Oh, we're good at that. Specifically with those people, Eric Mackey. Yeah, no, and again, it's a law, it's like, and that's the power of getting legislation passed, is that, okay, it's a law now. Yeah. There's no, if you perceive that, and it's like, no, you guys need to change this. And I think you can't imagine what's going on. And again, you and I have spent a lot of time on this, just the level of depravity and the things that are happening when you allow teachers to provide, not even teachers, education professionals, I don't know what the word is, people who work in that space to counsel children, right? And without their parents' permission on insert whatever thing here. And that was going on. And so the fact that they stopped that and said, okay, 16 and under, you can't do that anymore. Yeah. I think is huge. I mediated I guess it was a superintendent race in Colbert County. I don't know how I got roped into that. Someone reached out and they're like, hey, do you want to moderate this debate? I'm like, sure. Heck yeah. Why not? And so it's between these two superintendent candidates, and there's a guy, he seemed like he kind of knew what he was talking about. And then the lady, I just got like all the communist vibes. And of course she was running as a Republican superintendent.
Of course. Where else would they put in?
And especially in Colbert County. And it's very weird. There's a lot of, telepathing, or whatever the word that I'm looking for is. We would start talking, and I would ask a question, and the guy who is the superintendent now, thank God, knocks it out of the park. I ask him a question, boom, the right conservative answer. Right. And in my mind, I don't think public schools should exist, but for the situation that we have, it was the perfect answer. And I would ask her, and she would be like, well, socially and emotionally. Nope. And I'm like, so the first like 18 times she does that, I'm just like, and finally I asked her, I'm like, ma'am, do you understand what social emotional learning is? She goes, yes, it's amazing. Oh my gosh. I'm like, do you understand that that's basically like the injection method to like everything, wedge all this stuff in and through is social emotional learning? Yeah. She's like, well, I don't think so. And da-da-da-da-da. And so it was very much like the Jack Nicholson movie with Tom Cruise where he's got him on the stand and he's hammering him. He's like, you can't handle the truth. It was like one of those moments where I'm asking her something and she goes, well, there's times when the student's right to privacy supersedes the parent's right to know. And she was just basically hand on the hip, Karen, And I was just like, could you give me an example? And her eyes got this big. And she's like, oh God, what have I done?
Yeah, exactly.
Can you give me an example where the student's right to know, student's right to privacy supersedes the parent's right to know what's going on with their child? Yep. Give me one example.
Just one.
And she's like, we would leave that up to the mental health professionals. No. And so my point in telling this story is that those people, like she was trying to win that position so that she could do those things in our schools, right? Like there are people who like, how did the book about how to clean the fecal matter off of your sex toy get into the libraries in the children's section for 5-year-olds? Like that is, how does that happen? Is there's an intentionality in people wanting to come and pervert the innocent and to destroy innocence. There's an intentionality. There's a group of people who want to destroy that. And they're very intentional. And when we have lax laws that allow counseling and talks of suicide with children without their parents' permission, guess what you're going to get? Yeah,
you're going to get a bunch of broken kids. That rebel against their parents, run off and do horrible, horrible things to themselves. And parents, back to our earlier comment, not paying attention and being responsible and involved.
Yeah. So anything else on that before we move on?
I don't think so. There's so many things I could say about it, but I think we kind of covered the main pieces. The gamut. Yeah.
All right. But worth noting, I think, before we move on, something that we as conservatives actually do need to do a good job on. I was on the radio. April Marie was filling in with Jeff, and we were talking about the school choice legislation. Yeah. Okay, school choice. And someone got on the text line and was like, it didn't go far enough. We need more. This is ridiculous. They're still submitting to their AEA overlords. And it's like, first of all, I immediately flashed to the Star Wars Emperor where I'm like, let the hate flow through you. This is good. But while letting the hate flow through them because it's useful, I say, calm down. Like, we actually got way more than I ever thought we would ever get. For 12 years, Del Marsh, who was the Senate pro tem, one of the most powerful senators in the state, he was at one time the most powerful. For 12 years, he pounded his head against the wall trying to get school choice legislation passed. Charlotte Meadows, when she was in the House, was trying to get school choice legislation passed. They couldn't even get a bill out of committee. Yeah. Okay. Through, we went to work exposing. This is maybe I hope I don't get in trouble for cussing. I don't think it's a cuss word, but it's alliteration, and I think alliteration is pretty. Exposing the piss poor performance of the public education apparatus as well as the perverts in the public institutions. We exposed them. We exposed the AEA's stranglehold on the Republican Party that they're not supposed to have, which was rectified, which is going to probably help you. And then we highlighted alternatives. And so we did that. And through that process, really encouraged school choice to get passed. And lo and behold, Kay Ivey, who's been diametrically opposed. Again, that's not us taking all the credit. I'm sure you guys worked on that. Eagle Forum worked on that. API worked on that for years. It was all of this stuff. And I think us being able to have a bullhorn in there's all these national wins going towards school choice. Yeah. We were able to draw that in and get it across the finish line. And so grateful for everybody's work in that. But I tell that story to say, we have to be thankful for the wins that we get.
Yep.
2 reasons. 1, it's just good for our sanity.
Yes.
2, if we continue to complain when we get victories that they didn't want to give us, we'll never get anything again. Yeah. Do you think Kay Ivey wanted school choice?
Really not.
Not a chance. Not a chance. Okay. She was forced into doing it. Okay. Yeah. And she did it. And you had people like Terry Lathan and other people who were working very close with her to make it actually pretty good school choice legislation. Again, do I wish it was better? Sure. Yeah. But I've got 7 kids. Like, I'm actually sitting on $49,000 a year in education funds if I decide to send all my children to this classical Christian school.
Yeah.
And so 2 of my kids are going.
Nice. That's
$7,000
awesome.
a piece. And then they gave me another $2,000 per 2 other homeschool kids. And so right now I'm sitting on $18,000 that I'm cashing in this year.
Awesome.
That I qualified for. I didn't think I was going to qualify for. I did.
Nice.
And so it's like, how am I going to sit here and complain? That's $18,000 more going towards my children's education and development that I control than we had a year ago.
Yep.
And so we have to celebrate those victories. Otherwise, we become a resounding gong, you know, to leadership and the people who can and make better legislation. I'd much rather go and celebrate these people for the good that they do when they do it than beat the hell out of them and say that it wasn't good enough and then become perpetual ingrates.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that applies to medical age of consent. Does it need to be 18? Of course it does.
Yeah.
Like no
question
brainer.
asked.
Yeah. However, look at all the good things that we got out of this that are going to protect our children. I feel the same way. I don't call myself an abolitionist, but I believe in that view of abortion. I think it needs to be completely criminalized. However, I also believe when we get legislation that keeps less babies from dying, it's a thumbs up.
It's a win. Yeah. I mean, and I was on the Tina Deskovich does a new Moms for Liberty podcast, and I was talking to her the other day, and it's funny because all of my stories kept going back to we were protested. She's like, "You're in a red state. Like, why are you being protested? Our blue states don't have this." And afterwards, I kind of put it together. Like, there's something to protest here because they've got nothing. The left's got very little, I should say, in our state because it's so red, it's so conservative. And I think that's a lot with this legislation and just all the wins. We're quick to say, well, we had to compromise. We did, but the lefts had to compromise a whole lot more because every win we have is a loss for them, and they're losing a lot right now. So it's just changing perspective and appreciating that while not perfect, it's still moving us closer to where we need to be. So,
and for us to have a coalition that's effective, we have to be able to take the wins when we get them, and we have to celebrate the wins when we get them, and we have to celebrate the people who helped us get the wins when we get them, even if we don't like those people.
Yep. Yeah, that's a hard one.
I know it's brutal, but it's necessary.
It is necessary. Yes.
There's a point that I wanted to make, and it has escaped me, but I'm going to get it back. I'm going to wrestle it back into my brain on celebrating wins, I know what it is. You've been in this political fight, I'm thinking, for around the same amount of time as us. When did Moms for Liberty launch? 22? 21?
What year are we in now? We're in 25. So it would have been 22.
22. So we launched in 21. Yeah. I've always been hyper political before this, worked in media before this, but really diving into getting our hands on the local, what's going on. And I remember 4 years ago and then 4 years before that, like the odds of someone good winning a race that mattered that wasn't already an incumbent. So like Steve Marshall was put in, he didn't win. Okay. He was put in and then had incumbency.
Yeah.
So that's not what I'm talking about. Like Steve's done a phenomenal job. He's amazing, but he was already an incumbent. So we had some good guys in good spots, but they were incumbents and he was handed incumbency by the grace of God. There was no open races where a good person had a chance at winning an open seat. And so you look at like Tim James versus Kay Ivey. Tim didn't really have, I love Tim. Tim didn't really have a shot. Okay.
Yep.
It was the establishment had these major offices just locked down. Our guys never had a shot. Okay. Now, even if you had Will in Tuberville, say both of them were running against each other, you can't lose. Okay. Then the Senate seat is going to be replaced. Barry Moore very likely going to jump in. And Steve Marshall, you can't lose. Okay. Then you go on down the line and you've got Catherine Robertson versus Jay Mitchell. You can't lose. Yeah. You go down the line again and you've got Caroline Dobson and Andrew, both great people. This is so crazy. So again, I'm trying
it's quite a bench.
As negative as I am about political situations, I want to bring up the things that we can celebrate. When you go down the list and you look at that situation, it's like, man, we have all been working our tails off for years. And we're starting to see the fruit of it. And I think it's worth celebrating.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're in such a unique situation. And it's so funny for me because in Moms for Liberty, I'll talk to my friends in New York, New Jersey, and they're like, why are you even around? Like, y'all don't have these issues. And we do. Yeah. They're just not the same issues. So it's in those conversations that I go, Yeah, I mean, like, still a fight. We need to keep working on things, but we've got a really good position here in Alabama. So
Yeah.
They help keep things in perspective for me.
Yeah. Rebecca Watson is in cahoots with you, partner in crime, I assume.
She's doing a spinoff, and I, like, in full transparency, have seen posts on Facebook. I have yet to pick up the phone and call her because it's been chaotic. So I think she's spinning a little bit because she wants to broaden out on what they're doing down there, and it goes beyond what Moms for Liberty can do. So still close, still supportive, all that. Just she's branching out.
Got it. Okay.
Little birdie flying.
Yes. She moved from a blue state to a red state and realized red states aren't as red.
Yeah.
I moved here from Colorado 10 years ago.
Okay.
I've got a chief operations officer for 1819 News who's moving here from Minneapolis area. Okay.
Oh, wow.
We have a very unique perspective, about this red state relaxing because you're in a red state.
Yep.
We have a radically different perspective.
Yeah.
Colorado, I can't remember if I said this on a previous podcast or if it was off the mic or whatever. Colorado, you had crazy amount of military bases. They were reliably red, solid red, extremely conservative state. They have all the military bases, Fort Carson, Peterson Air Force Base, Shriver Air Force Base. They had Lowry Air Force Base, Air Force Academy, NORAD, all of that. They've got Focus on the Family, and all these ministries and churches are really, really big in there. Then they have an oil and gas industry. So they have all this. But now they have an openly homosexual governor. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, they
went downhill
a very
quick.
red state, and they flipped and they went to the point where now you have an openly sodomite governor who just signed a bill where they can steal your children if you misgender them.
Yeah. It's criminal.
And so I have the perspective of, guys, we have to protect our red state.
Yeah.
We have to protect our red state. We cannot do this. Oh, it's fine. That'll never happen here.
Yeah.
Right. We can't do that. And then Minnesota, you're looking what's going on there. I mean, my God, have you seen the guy who's running for the mayor of Minneapolis?
Oh my gosh,
he looks like.
So I may have told you this. When Ernie Yarbrough hears this, he'll laugh. So how I assess men is whether or not I think I can out squat them.
Yes.
As a CrossFitter, like, it's just that's just what you do. Like, what can you squat?
Yeah.
I can out squat that dude, which means he is not a man at all.
He is not a man, and he looks like. There's that Tom Hanks movie where the Somali pirates, jump on there.
That's who he is. I've been trying to figure this out. Oh my gosh.
And so it's like the thing where he's like, I'm the captain of the ship now. You work for me now. Right. And you have that guy, and that guy apparently is running to be the mayor of Minneapolis, right? Mogadishu. It's crazy. I mean, that's another dovetail. We could probably spend another hour is just how horrible we have been lied to about immigration and what we've allowed to happen. And it's just going to be a few Somalis. Yeah. Now their flag is Somalian. Like, they have a Somalian state flag in Minnesota now.
They do.
Like, it looks like the Somali flag.
Yep.
This is not about immigration. Immigration without assimilation is invasion. These people are not coming to participate in the American dream. They are coming to conquer our land and destroy our heritage. They don't, and I'll say, I get in trouble for this a lot. The H-1B visa thing, these people are not coming because they want to improve our station in life. No, they're coming to take advantage of everything that our forefathers built and sacrificed and bled and sweat and died for, produced all this, and it's basically just being pillaged by these foreigners who are coming over and just raping everything that our forefathers gave us, and we're letting it happen.
Yeah. Well, in Maine, that there's the Somalian lady. She's a congresswoman. I've seen that, but yes, all the things in Minnesota. Thank you.
Ilhan
but
Omar
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure there's one in Maine too. And it's same thing. Talks about how doesn't care about the American dream. America's horrible. Then go home.
And in their campaigning, when they talk about home, they're talking about Somalia.
Yeah. Yes.
They're not talking about here.
Right.
So again, if I'm Tom Homan, I'm getting C-130s just lined up in Minnesota, and everyone's getting on, and everyone's going back. I'm very pleased that the people of America, I thought for sure the first time you saw one like Honduran or Haitian or whatever, thought for sure the first time you saw one of them getting loaded on a plane, everyone was going to melt down and be like, it's okay. We just need to let them stay.
Yeah, no.
We can coexist.
No, they haven't been.
Yeah, no,
they
everyone's been like,
line.
send them all back. I'm like, this is amazing.
Alligator Alcatraz everywhere.
Yeah, it's so good. Again, this is so encouraging. Listen to us talk about all the encouragement. Usually, you know, we're labeled as negative, but this has been nothing but encouragement.
It is.
Well, some more encouragement. The Focus Act.
Yes. So Focus Act, it in a nutshell, it takes every type of wireless device from a kid out of the classroom. So this has been a very heated conversation. We can talk later about certain school board members in my county that are absolutely opposed to this. So a sitting school board member for a local district hates the Focus Act, says it's a parent right and that teachers need to stop complaining about it because the parent can give the child a phone and distract them entirely while they're in the classroom. It's a fascinating situation, but the Focus Act basically helps kids focus and do what they're supposed to do at school, which is learn. So they can't have cell phones, watches, the AirPods, nothing. They can take them to school, but they have to be turned off. They either have to stay in a locker, a cubby, something. They just cannot have them out during instructional time. So huge win for our education system.
So I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. I read your op-ed, so I didn't answer, but I'm going to tease it out. You are a huge parental rights advocate.
Yep.
And we are having the school take away a parent's only way of communicating with their kid while they're in school.
Yeah.
Defend yourself.
I will gladly defend myself. And oddly enough, I had this debate with my 10-year-old son on vacation because he said the exact same thing to me. So it's funny. I was not originally for this bill. There's a Democrat here in Birmingham who actually filed another bill that it was much easier. It just said local boards have to come up with your own policy. So I like that. Local control. I'm all for it. But I read the book by Jonathan Haidt, Coddling of the American Mind, I think is the name of it. And it's all about kids being exposed to social media, cell phones, laptops, anything that's connected to the internet. And it really walks through in very, very extreme detail how this is killing our kids. Literally killing a lot of them because they get anxious, they get depressed, they commit suicide. And it all goes back to access to cell phones. Yeah. And then it talks about the impact that's having in the classroom that teachers can't teach because they're constantly having to tell kids to put phones away. And while you may have your phone out and I may not, if the teacher's telling you to put your phone away, I'm being deprived of an education. Yeah. So it was very eye-opening reading that book. And I just thought, why do we have cell phones in classrooms? Because we grew up in a world where that didn't happen. If my parents needed me, they called the school and the school came and found me. Yeah. And everything was fine. Like there was never an issue with me not being able to get a message from home if I needed one. So the more I read on it, the more I really started understanding academically Alabama's very, very, very poor performance nationally.
You don't say.
Kind of shocking, right? Yeah. But there's a lot of studies out there statistically that show when you remove those devices, educational performance increases. So if we want to have stronger schools, we want to have less indoctrination, less mandated counseling. One of the things we can do is help kids get focused in the classroom and get focused on their curriculum and not all the crazy things happening with social media and cell phones. So they won me over, I'm not going to lie. And now I'm hardcore, like, no, they shouldn't even have them in the car. Like, they should not be there anywhere. So
yeah, my kids, I have a 15-year-old down to a 2-year-old. None of my kids have a cell phone. Like
my 10-year-old's dying for one. And I'm like, no, sorry. Like, I can use this law now. I'm like, well, you can't have it at school anyway. So like, why do you need it? So it's helpful.
This is a perfect example of a way that we can ideologically pin ourselves into a negative position. And so the Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro thing is the perfect example of that. Well, based off this ideology of free markets and markets deciding everything because we're libertarian economically and we want, the markets to decide everything. And if markets decide, then truck drivers or trucks without drivers is good. But I believe that what we're really lacking, that we've not created a society with good people who are wise, who can take positions of authority and actually rule with wisdom. And what that means is it's like, so you get down into rugged individualism, collectivism is bad, individualism is good. Well, I actually think the problem in our society is that we've become way too individualistic and not collective enough in some areas. And so I'm an individualist in some areas. I'm a collectivist in others. I'm parental rights more than maybe you might beat me. But other than you, I might be the biggest advocate of parental rights. But I also am not stupid.
Right.
Right. And so I'm not going to let an ideology pin me into a position where I can just look at it and use wisdom and say, yeah, this could definitely be classified as a parental rights thing. But if we're talking about what's good for the collective, right. Which is you have to say, no, this is very common sense. And think about the things that are being shared. I could not imagine being a 14-year-old boy with a cell phone. Cannot imagine. And then you go and put them around a bunch of other 14-year-old boys. Yeah. And then you put them in there with a bunch of girls, and then they're texting each other, God knows what.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine. And so, like, why would you pay attention to math when you can sit here and, hit on, this pretty girl that's, 2 rows ahead. And, it makes no sense to me. It's crazy that it took this long. But I'm with you. Obviously, huge parental rights advocate, but I think this is going to be a good thing for our schools.
Yeah. And it's good for our schools. It's good academically. But to your point, it's good for the mental health of our children.
Yeah.
Because, I do think that's one where all of us kind of come together and we agree. Like, this generation is suffering more with mental health disorders than we've ever seen. And, having read the book, I can see truly like the data that shows it points back to cell phones. But one of the things we can do to help with that is just get it out of these kids' hands for 8 hours a day. Yeah. That's it.
Give what you do,
yes. What you do outside of that, parent, you decide. My kid's not going to be on a phone because he doesn't have one. My neighbor's kids have phones. That's their parental right to do that. But if we can stop the pictures from taking place at school and we can stop the rumor mill for 8 hours a day, it just gives our kids' minds a break to be kids.
So I can just watch, so my kids, we've got an iPad and we have a TV and we don't have the TV hooked up to anything, but you can take a phone or the iPad and you can screen to the TV.
Yeah.
But we're very, very, very limited on how much we do that. But, sometimes, Christina will be sick or we'll do something. And so it's like, okay, kids, you can watch a movie today.
Yeah.
They watch 2 movies. My kids are not the same kids.
Yeah, they're not.
Just like just a little bit of screen time and they are radically different children. And then you times it by 7.
Yeah.
And, when
you're outnumbered quick.
Yeah, you're outnumbered quick and it gets bad. But even me, I have to take Twitter and Facebook off of my phone.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'll just get locked in and my kids will be running around the house like, Dad. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to scroll on Facebook, kids. It's just like,
I do that. I'll snap at my son. He'll ask something. He's innocent, right? And I'm like, I'm in the middle of stuff. Oh, crap. Yeah.
What am I in the middle of? Tweeting?
Yeah.
Crazy. So, I think that's good. I think it's positive.
The interesting thing with that is I was reading that book. I read a health book probably a couple months before that. Blue light. We've always heard about the turn your devices off 30 minutes before, blah, blah, blah. They make blue light glasses. So just out of curiosity, I bought them. Oh my gosh, biggest difference. I can tell a difference when I go to sleep. I sleep better just by wearing those little glasses. So I'm like, if 30 minutes of wearing these glasses to shield my eyes from that, imagine what social media does to your kid's brain. So it's interesting. There's a lot of fact in it. So I think it's a good move. Parents are not happy with it, but I think a year from now they'll see the difference and they'll be happy. Just got to give it time.
So where can people find you, learn about your campaign?
Oh gosh, I should have looked that up. EmilyJones4StateBoard.com is the website. And then Facebook and Instagram are the social media platforms.
Is 4 State Board the number 4 or is it FOR?
FOR. Okay. Yep.
Board. Got it. Okay. Well, that's wonderful. Any parting words?
Just get educated. Know what's going on in your kids' schools, in your neighborhood. Get involved. Do your job as a parent.
Do your job. That's my favorite message. Do your job as a parent. It's not your teacher's job. It's not the Sunday school teacher's job. It's your job.
It's your job.
Awesome. All right. Well, that'll wrap it up. Emily Jones, thank you so much for taking the time to come see us.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Always fun.
Indeed. All right, guys. That'll wrap it up for this week. I don't know if we're going to do an overtime segment or not. We'll see. See how we feel when we cut here. We'll see. Until next time, put your trust in God and keep your powder dry.